You have got to beat a depleted Dallas Mavericks team, and the Golden State Warriors do not do it. Another crunch time loss, another game where we are pulling our hair out on the post-game show. Very frustrating. We'll talk about it. We'll also get a Jonathan Kuminga update on today's Locked On Warriors.
Who cares now? Because I'm here, and I would like to think that I am wanted here.
Most importantly, he a dog.
We got 4 championships.
You are Locked On Warriors.
I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
Your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Speculation is just what it is, though.
Your team every day.
Yo, what is the good word? And to the raccoon squad that Nick Angstead is for sure sending over from Locked On Mavericks, good to see you guys today. Mavericks beat the Golden State Warriors 111-107. We're going to break it down. This is Locked On Warriors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are free and available wherever you get your audio podcasts. You can also check us out on YouTube. We stream live after the games, and we have a daily newsletter that's sent to your inbox for free at LockedOnDaily.com. My name's Charlie Walter, formerly at 95.7. That is the flagship of the Golden State Warriors. Covered the team in the Bay Area as well for CBS News Bay Area. Call letters KPIX in San Francisco. Matt Kolsky joins me today, formerly of KNBR and 95.7 The Game, and you can hear him from time to time with some of his guys on KNBR. Let's get right into this thing, Kolsky. Waste no time. You have to beat a depleted Mavericks team. It's as simple as that. They were missing serious production and serious size, but they had the best player on the floor tonight, and it was not even close. Kyrie Irving, give the guy his flowers. When you're talking superstars in the NBA, for whatever reason, sometimes Kyrie Irving isn't brought up, right? You bring up so many of these guys, his former teammate Luka, but for whatever reason, sometimes Kyrie gets lumped into that Robin instead of a Batman that can lead a team. He led them today, man. 15 of 25 from the floor, got to the line 10 times, 7 of 10 from 3, and he hit some timely ones, including a barrage of threes in the first half that was a heat check to put the Mavericks up 14 and really allow them to take control of the game. The thing was, they didn't have control of the game when it was all said and done. The Warriors stormed back into this thing, took the lead in the final minutes of the game, had it tied up with 30 seconds to go, and Steph Curry at the foul line. A missed free throw gives it to Dallas. A double team on Kyrie, probably the smart thing to do, gives Najee Marshall an open lane. He floats it in. The Warriors don't score from there. Dallas wins it 111-107. There was reffing that was involved in this one. I'm never one to speak illy on the refs unless it was that Rockets game at the beginning of the year. I'm speaking illy about them in this one today. The turnovers, we're all speaking illy about the turnovers from the Golden State Warriors. It was bad. Buddy Hield's performance, again, 29 minutes compared to Moses Moody's 27. You tell me, viewers, who was more effective in this game, who deserved more minutes as the game unfolded. That was not the case today. Some small lineups make you a little bit frustrated. Maybe not enough Quentin Post in the game today, but the floor is yours, Kolsky. You were pissed. You texted me and said, I hope your equipment breaks tonight. We don't have to do a post-game show. But here we are, and the floor is yours to vent.
That makes it sound worse than it was. I didn't hope for your equipment to break. I just said
I wouldn't be disappointed. Yes.
I wouldn't be super upset. That sucked. You mentioned most of it. You do want to give let me start with Kyrie, because that guy, look, I got my issues with Kyrie Irving, basketball and non-basketball department. He's not a number one. He's not a top-tier superstar. We've seen that. But boy, when he gets it going, he is as unstoppable as anybody. And I got to say, too, my own personal frustrations with him aside, he is a beautiful basketball player. I mean, some of the stuff he can do around the rim, that shot, he's no Steph Curry, but it's pure. He is a pure jump shooter, and the form is nice, and it looks good coming out of it. He's beautiful to watch play the game. He is the kind of guy that can score 40 in a loss, and that would have been a much preferable outcome tonight. As far as the referees, look, I'm with you. I never want to blame refs, and I'm not going to blame them tonight, but they were bad. There was bad refereeing. I've already seen a couple the fixes in comments in the in the YouTube comments, and it's not, but I know why you're frustrated after a game like that, because there were 3 or 4 brutal missed
Can we
balls.
go to the kick? I mean, let's start with the kick. That's the one that's going to be talked about at the end of this game. They came back. It was Jorge, last name escaping me right now, sideline reporter for ESPN. He tried to give the explanation.
It's George.
And as he was giving the explanation,
George Sedano.
Yeah, Sedano. All the facts that he was given were wrong. They're like, and that's why the Warriors had the ball. And it's like, no, they didn't have the ball. And everything he tried to describe made me more confused. What the hell happened there?
I don't know. That's it. I don't know. I don't know how they stopped the game, had a conversation, looked at stuff, and came back with that result. I don't know what they were doing. And I like George Sedano, but I don't know what he was doing either. Because you're right, he did say the wrong team, which that I could forgive if the rest of it made sense, but it didn't. Inadvertent whistle, but how could it have been an inadvertent whistle? Like, that's not what happened on that play. I can't make sense of it. It was nuts. It never should have happened. It's a bad mistake by the referees. I also, the Jimmy charge wasn't a terrible call, but if it had been called the other way on the floor, I don't think it would have been overturned, I think that was right on the borderline in terms of whether Kyrie, he was definitely moving. The question was whether he was in legal guarding position, and I don't know. I'm not so sure he was.
I like the idea there. And he had the angle to just take it right to the rim, right side, and not go down the middle and try to bully his way to a bucket. But I get what he's doing there. I mean, he draws contact, he gets the line. That's what he does, and he finished. I mean, but
I think that's why
away from and one to potentially win that game.
Exactly right. But I do think what you just said is why he didn't get the calls, because there was an opportunity to do a better job of going around him. All of that was infuriating. However, I don't think the Warriors can blame anyone but themselves for this loss, because it was
sloppy.
It was sloppy all night.
Extra sloppy for you, Kolsky.
Yeah, I know how you like them sloppy. And again, Steph is a main culprit with just some of the dumbest throwaway open floor turnovers that lead right to open baskets for the other team. And listen, I have a lot of sympathy for Steph Curry.
And Draymond. Let's not let Draymond off the hook. He sometimes thinks that Jimmy Butler's 8 feet down low. He thinks he's Yao Ming in the paint with some of those lobs in there.
Yeah, I guess Draymond had 3 tonight. Yeah, so they had 7 turnovers between the two of them, and Jimmy had 3 as well. I think the offensive foul is one of them, and one was a terrible entry pass in the first quarter. Mm-hmm. But that one's not as bad. The Jimmy turnovers usually happen in a spot where, it's not open floor. Draymond and Steph both get all hopped up on goofballs and want to be playing Andre Iguodala ball, and Andre Iguodala's not out there. Like, even though you now have better players out there than you did a week ago, they're not the same ones where you whip the ball all around the court. And frankly, like, defenses are on to you a little bit more. Defenses are praying that Steph Curry tries a one-handed cross-court pass, because it's one of the only ways you can take advantage of him. So they got to stop that. And that was, if I told the basic story of this game tonight, it was the Warriors fall behind, claw their way back. The Warriors fall behind, claw their way back. Fall behind, claw. And almost without fail, the reason they fell behind was because they committed 3 or 4 stupid turnovers in the space of 3 or 4 minutes. And it you cannot afford to give these games away. This is not a team that is too good. This is not a team that is, feeling good about themselves. And they're a team that you may very well need a tiebreaker against when it gets to the end of the season. So, man, brutal loss on so many levels, and now you need tomorrow even more.
And one of the biggest reasons why it's brutal is you go back and you watch the tape at the end of this game and you count the amount of missed shots within 3 feet of the basket. I'm talking wide open layups that you typically see high schoolers make. There were at least 7 or 8 of them. We're going to get into the Dubs cold shooting. We're going to get into how Golden State was able to claw their way back in the game. Almost had some vintage Steph down the end of this game. Some really nice plays, but not enough is the Mavericks are able to win it. They beat the Warriors 111-107. We also got some Jonathan Kuminga talk coming up, so stick with us.
And most importantly, he a dog.
We need more dogs.
All right, today's episode is brought to you by WayFair. After the holiday hustle, there's nothing like giving your home a little TLC. I always find that decluttering and refreshing my space helps me get back into a routine. Whether you're tidying up, clearing out, or just want to give your space a new look to start the year, WayFair has everything you need, all within your budget. I'm currently looking for furniture, and the nice thing is, if I decide to go with WayFair, I'm going to. The free and hassle-free delivery, even for larger items. There's something for every style and every home, no matter your space or budget, and WayFair makes it easy to tackle your New Year's home goals. Give your home the refresh it needs with WayFair. Head to wayfair.com right now. That is WayFair, WayFair.com. WayFair, every style, every home.
Destroy Jimmy and Domino's. I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
All right, man. We teased it before the break, but I remember back in my humble playing days in the game of basketball, there was nothing worse than when you were sitting on the bus on the way back and just thinking about what could have been. A lot of times it's missed free throws. A lot of times it's just the layups that you felt like you blew in a game. There's always possessions that you can point to where if we didn't do this, if we didn't do that, it's a completely different game. Golden State can point to legit 8 layups in this game that they missed. 16 points that they left on the board. There was a specific stretch in the first half. It was Pods missing a wide open layup, Draymond missing a wide open layup. And the reason that I bring up missed layups in the first half is because I thought the effort and just the discipline as a whole and the feel for the game, the IQ, everything that goes along with it suffered after those 2 missed layups by Green and Podziemski before the Warriors went on that 15-3 run to close out the first half. But man, missing layups, it's such a momentum killer, man, especially when it goes for 2 or 3 the other way.
Yeah, well, it's that, and then it's that those missed layups that you're talking about specifically came right in that same stretch where they were also 2 or 3 turnovers. And, you know, that's where all of a sudden it felt like it was anybody's game, and then suddenly the Mavericks are up 12. And that's because of contained stretches of really sloppy nonsense. And you know, there's becoming an element to this of when someone tells you who they are, believe them, right? This is something they've done all year long, but it still feels like it shouldn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, it's been years and years Steph Curry's been loosely throwing the ball around the floor at the worst possible times. It hasn't hurt him that much in the grand scheme of things, and maybe that's why it hasn't gotten cleaned up much. But now the margins are very thin, and they just have to find a way to cut that stuff back. I have no doubt that come playoff time, they would cut that stuff back. So they got to be in playoff mode tomorrow. That's it. There's no more messing around. You're 500. There are, 28 games left in the season? It's go time.
This is one you had to get, man. This is one that when you get a depleted Mavericks team and you have them in crunch time in a tie ball game, you got to finish them out. And the Warriors were right there. They were not able to get it done. Some good news from today's game. Jimmy Butler continues to look like a very good addition to this team. Warriors now 2-1 since the Butler acquisition. He goes 8 of 17 from the floor in his 35 minutes. Gets to the line 6 times, hits 5 of them, had 6 offensive rebounds. I mean, Butler was all over the glass, had 9 total rebounds in the game, 7 assists, and 21 points in the game to go along with a block. Draymond had 13, 5, and 5. Steph Curry led the way with 25. but it took a while for Curry to heat up. 9 of 23 in the game, 4 of 13 from three. There was about a 10-minute stretch there in the third quarter where he had not scored, but down the last 3-4 minutes, it looked like a Curry takeover until Kyrie stole the show and Dallas was able to weather the storm. And then Peyton and Moody joined those guys in double figures with 14 apiece. But let's go to the end of this game. Curry had been ice cold, hits a three with 5 minutes left, the crowd jawing at him. And I immediately thought, all right, this is one of those games where Steph is feeling it right now. He's going to hit 2 or 3 threes in a row, and he's going to get a night in on the road. It's been a long time since he's had a night. It's been a long time, early November to be exact, since the Warriors had won 3 straight games. Thought there was the chance to do it. And then immediately after that 3, you see Curry's gravity. 2 defenders surrounded him on a little pick and roll, and Guy Santos finds Pods on the slip. And then you get the first lead since it was 6-4 after Curry's 3 with 3:30 to go in the game. Then after Curry hits a 3, he gets an offensive rebound with 2 minutes left in the game to tie it up. Felt like Curry was going to will this team to victory. They give it to Jimmy Butler for the final play of the game, and he had a clear path to the basket there. I would have to imagine that you're not going to argue about Steve Kerr's design there, if that's even what he had the itinerary set as.
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard to know, but I have no problem with going to that down the stretch.
Not at all. Good. I mean,
I really thought he had it. Everything about this game is so frustrating. I mean, Kyrie Irving, of all people, making that play, which was a good defensive play. Although I think it probably should have been a foul. What he did was a good play.
It looked like he moved at the last second or stopped himself at the last second. It was bang, bang. It was whatever was called on the floor was going to stand.
I think that's what it is. It's right on that line because you don't actually have to be perfectly stationary to draw a charge. That's a common misconception. You have to be in legal guarding position, which, I can see both sides of it. I would have liked to see it called a defensive foul because I hate, especially on the last play of a game, I don't like rewarding someone who's definitely not trying to play defense. He's making a play for the offensive foul, which, as it turns out, was obviously a smart play. But I don't like that the game goes that way in the end. I'd like to see Jimmy have the opportunity to play basketball there and then let the Mavericks play basketball go in the other direction. But that's neither here nor there. You're right that they just, now that it's happened, I don't know that I want to say they can't drop this one because, look, they're still where they are. They're still relatively in this thing. And they're still close to 6th place, relatively speaking.
But if they want to get there, they got to win this game, man. It's as simple as that. I mean, you're going to have some difficult games coming up, and this is one of them on the schedule that, with the roster that the Mavericks threw out there, it was not even close to one of the more difficult games on the schedule. And,
and that's
the Warriors shot at 10 of 35 from deep, 28%, man. That's not going to get it done.
Well, except it would have gotten it done. And I think that's the nice thing you saw tonight is the way you're still seeing the way
you
Jimmy
can
Butler
win without shooting it well. Yeah.
They didn't shoot it well, and they absolutely had an opportunity to win by, as you said, making more layups over the course of the day. And a huge part of Steph Curry getting open and hot in the fourth quarter was leading up to that. Jimmy went to the line 3 times out of 4 possessions or something like that. And again, it's almost like pressing a reset button in the game. Things are slipping out of control. Give it to Jimmy. Let him get to the line. Everybody take a breath. And I thought that really worked for them in the fourth quarter tonight. They just couldn't push the ball over the goal line. And that is a brutal way to go down. And look, I mean, they lost this game, and I still believe they've got a shot to put together a run. So I'm not going to say they had to have it and they blew it. But to your point, when you blow a game like this, it means you're going to have to steal one that you probably weren't expected to, right? It means maybe you need that win against Oklahoma City later, and I don't even know if they play them again.
You just need a streak, man. It's as simple as that. You need a streak, and this team has not put together a streak since November. So at some point, they got to show us that they can put one together. And granted, it's a different team. and it will change even more when Jonathan Kuminga returns. We'll get into that in just a minute because we have the update with Jonathan Kuminga. But first, the update on Buddy Hield.
Oh,
had been playing some pretty good basketball, man. The cycle had turned completely. We got into good Buddy. Tonight we had bad Buddy. Offensively, it didn't look like he knew the sets. He was running around like a chicken with his damn head cut off. Draymond and him had some miscommunications. You could tell Curry was frustrated with him at one point. And when he's not playing cerebrally well, you better hope that he hits some shots. And not only did he miss his shots, he missed just about all of them. 1 of 9 from the floor, 1 of 6 from 3 for 3 points in the game. A team worst minus 21, yet he gets 29 minutes. You look at Moses Moody off the bench, 5 of 13, had some really nice offensive rebounds. There were a few plays where he just caught it and attacked, which I love to see from Moody, laid it in off the window. Yeah, I mean, you would have loved to have seen Moses hit some of those corner threes where Jimmy found him. I mean, he had some great looks today that he missed, but that's basketball. You know, sometimes they go in, sometimes they don't. But I think just what he was giving you, what Moody was giving you from a non-scoring perspective, or non-shooting perspective, rather, and even from a shooting perspective, he should have been on the floor the majority of this game, and would have liked to seen some more Pajimski and a little bit less Buddy Hield. Buddy's one of those cases to me where you got to weigh him game by game. And you got to make the end game adjustment. And he played a little too much for my liking. Your thoughts?
I don't think. How long did Steph Curry play with Jordan Poole? Like 2.5 years, basically, I want to say. Two full seasons for
something
sure.
Like that. Yeah.
2 full seasons of regular Jordan Poole minutes. And I think Steph Curry has lost his temper on the court with Buddy Hield more times in 50 games than he did in Jordan Poole's entire Warriors career, which is really saying something. And the stuff that Buddy is screwing, like, I can see he's missing cuts. If I can see it, you're doing a really bad job. Like, I watch a lot of basketball. I know the game pretty well. I can't draw their plays. I'm not one of these technical masterminds with how the game works. I'm watching and going, oh, Buddy, what are you doing? Just looking like he doesn't know how to play basketball. And I don't know how to explain it, especially when it felt like he was on a kind of good run. He just spaces out. I don't know what else to call it. And, you know, look, Moody and Pajemski both played 25-ish plus minutes tonight. So, I would have rather seen Gary Payton out there more. Let Gary play 25 instead of Buddy. I think ultimately the answer to this is going to be Jimmy at the 2, because you're going to want to get Jimmy and Kuminga and a center on the floor, hopefully. But yeah,
what's most frustrating about this game is the fact that we got vintage Draymond defensively. We got menace Draymond and still somehow lost this game.
Man, those 2 blocks. I mean, I think he ended up with, it was
the one block and just the one contest, but it was
he had 2 big ones. He had the block that he sent back on someone was trying to leap for a dunk, and then he had just a full-on in-your-face rejection as well. He and Butler together are going to really be something in a couple weeks on the defensive end. Get Kuminga back here running around. He was looking good defensively before he got hurt. They got to get healthy, and man, I know Buddy has his moments, but I'm getting real sick of the bad side of Buddy. It's too much, and it's too brutal.
That it is, as we take a deep sigh. That it is. Let's talk some Jonathan Kuminga, man, because there's brighter days ahead. Kuminga was playing great basketball before he went out with the ankle injury. We have an update on his status. Feels like he's been out for freaking forever. When is Kuminga getting back to the floor? And guess who his new mentor is? It's an easy guess. It's Jimmy Butler. Let's discuss. Coming up on Locked On Warriors.
very, very, very happy that I'm not getting suspended no more.
All right, today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at OpenPhone. Let me tell you about OpenPhone. Running a small business means you are wearing a lot of hats. Your personal phone becomes a business phone, and before you know it, you're juggling customer calls all day and all night. And then you're getting sales call. It becomes impossible to manage everything with just your personal number, and that is where OpenPhone comes in. It's the #1 business phone system designed to help you keep your work and your personal life separate for just $15 a month. Cost a few lattes. You get complete transparency and visibility into everything happening with your business phone number. OpenPhone works through an app on your phone or your computer and integrates with tools like HubSpot and hundreds of others. It also uses AI-powered call transcripts and summaries, so you'll have a rundown of your calls and action items the second you hang up. And if you miss a call, no problem. Automated messages are sent directly to your customer, ensuring you never miss an opportunity to engage. Right now, OpenPhone is offering 20% off your first 6 months when you go to openphone.com/lockedonnba. That is openphone.com/lockedonnba for 20% off 6 months. openphone.com/lockedonnba. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge.
Forget that. We champs. Why are you starting with that question? We got 4 championships.
All right, so let's get to Jonathan Kuminga. Has been out with the ankle injury, and his status for returning has turned into we'll wait and see after the All-Star break. Last report we've heard is that Jonathan Kuminga will be reevaluated after the All-Star break. Do not expect him to be playing from day one, but hopefully it is soon, and hopefully immediately after the All-Star break, he's back to practicing with the team. Another thing that we have read is that Jonathan Kuminga is a part of this future. Now, did Joe Lacob say that Jordan Poole was going to be a part of this future? I'm sure if we went through Anthony Slater's athletic articles, we could find it somewhere.
He was going to be a part of the future before he got punched in the face by one of your all-stars. I mean,
fair enough. But as of right now, it seems like Kuminga is going to be a part of this future despite the financial hardships that get in the way. So in a recent interview with Joe Lacob, the Athletic asked if Butler's addition would complicate Kuminga's future. We got restricted free agency coming up, and the Warriors seemingly would go out over their cap space if they were to extend him. Lacob said, why? Why is there a complication? Because Butler's salary next year is $25.9 million more than what Wiggins was scheduled to make. Lacob said, yeah, so Lacob and the Warriors still committed to paying whatever it takes to keep Kuminga, who will enter a thin market as maybe the most intriguing wing target, maybe. Lacob said, absolutely, we are 100% with Kuminga. Are you kidding me? I love that guy. We love him. What are your thoughts when you hear Joe Lacob say that we're going to make it work?
I believe him. I think the most honest thing he said in that whole thing. Well, I mean, look, I think it's all reasonably honest, but the most
he said he'd take the penalties in the summer.
Right.
He's like, if we have an opportunity to compete, we're gonna take the penalties.
He's always been that way. But the most deeply true thing he said is, I love that guy. And that's the biggest reason I expect Kuminga to be here. Like, lots of
Kuminga's
people,
Lacob's guy, right?
Yeah. Lots of people like
Pretty
Jonathan
obvious.
Kuminga. I think Joe Lacob loves him more than anyone. And that is usually good news for somebody who wants to stay on a basketball team if the owner loves you to death and feels like that's my guy. So, as I said when they made the Butler deal, and as Joe Lacob effectively said here, and I don't know why people aren't more clear about it, the money doesn't matter. All that, like the cap space, the Warriors haven't had cap space since before Kevin Durant got here. All right? The way this works is they have the rights to sign Jonathan Kuminga. They can basically pay him whatever they want, even though they're over the cap, because he's their guy. and I expect them to pay him whatever it takes to keep him. Now, is that ponying up and offering $35 million a year up front and maybe he takes it? Or is that letting him go out on the open market and seeing if he can get that? Either way, I expect him to be a Warrior. I expect him to be a Warriors next year. He always going to be a Warriors. Maybe not.
I don't think they're going to let him hit the open market.
It's not up to them anymore. If he wants to, he can do that. But whatever offer he gets, they can match. So, it probably depends what he's asking for. If he asks for his max extension, which is like 38 plus a year, they might say, why don't you see what you can get on the open market? If he says 33 and
a game of poker.
Yep. Right. If he says, give me 33 a year, give me less than what Michael Porter Jr. is getting, I would do it. I think because of Joe Lacob, they will do it. Because honestly, like, with Draymond, Jimmy, and Steph, they already don't have any flexibility next year. If Kuminga leaves, there's no better answer they're going to be able to bring in. So, look, things can change. Obviously, the back half of the season could go horribly wrong, but I like the idea of Kuminga with this lineup, and he's the best option they're going to have in all likelihood.
All right, let's finish with the quick mentorship of Jimmy Butler and Jonathan Kuminga. In that same article, Butler said, I figure we will spend a lot of time together. I would like to think I'll make his job a lot easier, and he'll make my job easier. He's another individual they're going to have to guard. They're going to have to pay attention. Then on defense, you got another quote, unquote, MFer. They can switch, then challenge shots and get us out in the open floor. And then Jonathan Kuminga in the article basically said that Jimmy's going to be a role model to him, and he would like to potentially model his game after Jimmy's. And to me, the big thing that I'd like to see Kuminga take away from Jimmy Butler's game is just his feel and how he plays it, right? Maybe not the style. They're different players, at least in my belief. They're definitely different players. But the one thing I think he can learn from Jimmy is just the feel, where to be, the flow of the game, that sort of thing.
They are different players, largely because of Kuminga's athleticism. But I actually think they want, as much as possible, Kuminga to take cues from Butler's game. It's the tenacity and the desire to attack the rim. That's the biggest thing that Jonathan Kuminga needs to take from Jimmy Butler. And look, it would be great if Jonathan Kuminga developed Jimmy Butler's feel for the game, but I'm not sure that's possible. I think what he can adopt is the determination around the hoop.
The 3-point attempt numbers.
The bringing down the 3-point attempt numbers, bringing up the foul attempts. That's the biggest thing he can take from Butler. And also, there is a level of tenacity that I think. And look, in Kuminga's defense, hard to be that tenacious as the young 4th, 5th banana, which is what he's been most of his career at best. Now that he's a more significant part of this team, now that he's going to play 30-plus minutes a night, finding a way to bring that level of tenacity every night would be a huge step too.
How excited are you to see Kuminga back, man? It's been a minute. You were getting great JK.
I'm the vice president. Joe Lacob might be the president, but I am the vice president of the Jonathan Kuminga fan club, and I am very excited to get him back.
You're up there. Vice president may be a stretch, but you're on the staff. Let's put it that way. You're definitely on the staff, man.
I'm the secretary
he's Matt Kolsky
of the Jonathan Kuminga fan club. Thank you.
No doubt, man. He's Matt Kolsky. I'm Chuck Walter. This is Locked On Warriors. Ways that you could find us: YouTube, audio podcast. If you were a fan of the show and you stuck around this long, definitely give us that thumbs up on the way out. It's free. Helps us out. We very much appreciate it. Kolsky, you have a good night. Enjoy some rest. Final score, Mavericks 111, Golden State 107.
Tell you what, Chuck, they better beat Houston or I might hop on that plane to the All-Star game early.